Welcome to the Doctor's Call, everyone. It is Tuesday, the 15th of December, 2015. Your host, DW from Denver, Colorado. DW, take it away.
Well, welcome to the Doctor's Clinic, and it is just absolutely an honor to have you with us tonight. And if you're listening to the replay of this, thank you so much for taking your time to be a part of what's happening. Tonight, we're kind of excited about the topic because, you know, when Miss Helen and I and Laura Baccini and a bunch of us, and Doc Fizz and just so many people that are out and about, and we're doing taste and talks, and we're helping people understand the products. One of the biggest questions we get is what we're going to get into tonight. Some of the biggest challenges that we have, to help people with is to help them with inflammation, is to help them when it comes to maybe pain or even chronic pain. And when it comes to dealing with nerve damage, when it comes to so many things. Well, tonight, the topic we're going to pop into is on joint health and joint pain and joint inflammation. And, all the way from coming from nerves to where even that little soft piece of thinner than a thinnest piece of toilet paper you ever seen that's in the joints gets inflamed just a little. Can just bring you to your knees. Back challenges and back pain and just some of the joints and some of the things that are going on and all the way from what we can do to help tendons to what we can do to do that. Well, I'm telling you, this gentleman that's going to be coming to you right now, Dr. Kirk Fisnick, not only is he a personal friend, but he's been a go-to guy for me personally when it comes to some of these pains. And Doc knows that I broke my back a few years ago, and you can't imagine some of the stuff he's gone through. So we have had these pains that we're talking about in our bodies, and we've gotten massive relief because of what we're doing tonight. So Dr. Kirk Fisnick, welcome to the Doctor's Clinic. We are just absolutely excited to have you with us this evening, and we're getting into joint pain. Being a chiropractor and going through that and doing a lot of things that you've done, you got advanced training beyond just that as well. This is like, you talk about, down your lane. You talk about being something that you actually spent every day from morning to night to help people with. It's this topic. Are you a little bit excited about this particular topic?
Oh, DW, it's fun. When somebody last week suggested that I talk about joint pain, I thought, holy cow, I can't believe that I haven't talked about that yet. It's kind of funny, isn't it?
That's hilarious, but I'm glad you're on it, and we're just glad to have you tonight. So, if you can manage someone's pain and and their inflammation, man, you can give them a quality of life that they haven't had for quite a while. That's a big deal.
Oh man, I'll tell you what. You take a look at people. We're, as a chiropractor, it's the leading cause of disability. It's one of the leading causes of disability in America is back pain. And so, pain is chronic pain. It affects 80 to 90% of adults, and there's people that are being put on disability every single day. So if we have the answer for that, if we can get people back to work, if we can get rid of their pain so they feel like they can function, it can make a huge, huge impact on people and not just people, but on the economic side of things.
Well, and it's kind of interesting because and maybe I'll start off with a question that you wasn't quite ready for, which is kind of enjoyable from time to time, but I doubt it'll catch you off guard. Traditional medicine throws an enormous amount of narcotics and drugs and all the way from the worst being morphine. I say it's the worst just because I don't know the name of all the other stuff out there, to so many painkillers that trash the kidney and the liver and mess up the bowels and cause constipation and challenges there, causing toxicity, coming from those areas to surge through the body. And we have some stuff that the side effects is just, oh, that's right, feeling better. But you may want to compare just a little bit or get into it when someone's going through some chronic pain and things like that. So I come into you and I say, and Doc, I broke my back in 7 places. It's healed up as good as it's ever going to heal up, as far as that goes. But I'm still feeling some pain. And what's some of the things that you're going to want to ask me or find out about?
Well, DW, that's an interesting way of bringing it up, because I've had patients come into the office, and that's exactly what they'd say. They'd go, well, I broke my back. What can you do to help me? Can you fix this thing? And a lot of times, I really have to tell them, I have to say, no, I can't really fix it, because there's just too much damage. There's too much going on that we can't give you a brand new back. So I always tell people, just like we talk about with other diseases, prevention really is the cure. But what can we do to make it so it's tolerable? And that's really what we're talking about. What can we do to make it so it's tolerable? What can we do so we can make the joints so they don't degenerate any further than what they have? And maybe if we're working on it right and give the right things, what can we do to rebuild that joint? So that brings me to one of the things that I always talked about with my patients. And DW, I'm going to ask you if you've ever heard of denervation supersensitivity.
That word hasn't, it's not, I'm just not recalling it right now.
That you haven't used it in a while, have you?
Just saying.
And I laughed.
Every week, so paybacks will be rough, but it's just not something that I've used recently.
All right, so tomorrow I want you to use that in a sentence. Denervation supersensitivity. And here's what it is. I'll tell you what it is. Is that did you ever have a grandma or a grandpa or an aunt, maybe your mom or dad, and they would tell you, they'd say, "Oh man, Sonny, hey, it's gonna rain tomorrow. I can tell."
Well, yeah.
Right?
Yeah, absolutely.
That's denervation supersensitivity.
Okay, I love it.
Right? And what it really means is this, is that the joint's been damaged and it's left the nervous system super sensitive. And so where you and I'm watching the weather change in North Dakota right now. We're going from a kind of a calm, dreary day in North Dakota to where now it's starting to snow. We're supposed to get 6 inches of snow in the next 24 hours. And as it's coming in, I can look at my barometer, and I can see the barometer. I can see the air pressure, the atmospheric pressure changing, right? But I can't feel it. I can't feel the atmospheric pressure changes. But what if your nervous system was so sensitive that when atmospheric pressure changes were happening, you could actually feel it in your joint?
Well, people do.
Right.
They have. That's kind of like an undisputable fact.
Exactly. And that's what denervation supersensitivity is. And so what actually happens in a joint is, like, let's say that you injure your knee, for example. We'll pick on knees here tonight. And you injure your knee, and you stretch the cartilage, you tear it up a little bit. And so what tells your brain it's the left knee and not the right knee, right? And most people don't really think about that. How does the nervous system, how does it distinguish between that? Well, there's these nerve fibers that go up to the brain, goes to the thalamus, to different parts of the brain, and then it sends a signal down there, and it says, well, let's do this. Let's increase some different chemicals, and I won't go through all of that, but let's just increase some different chemicals in that joint to cause inflammation and to make it so that the joint is sore, right? And so now the pain fibers pick up on that. It gets inflammation. It makes it so you actually don't use that leg as much. You kind of limp. You favor the leg, and you put your weight on the other side so you don't damage it anymore. But while that's all happening inside the joint, think of it like this: if I had 1,000 head of cattle in a feedlot, and all of a sudden there was a fire, and I had to get them out of the feedlot, do I want to open up a little tiny gate and push them through single file, or do I want to take and knock the fence down and get all those animals out of there as fast as I can? Well, we want to knock that fence down. We want to open up as many gates, as many holes in the fence as we possibly can. So in your body, what happens is that you're trying to get these signals to the brain, telling the brain there's something going on, and bottom line is that you don't open up new gates, not in the same sense that you're knocking down the fence, anything like that. But what you're doing is you're increasing the number of synapses, the number of places where that nerve can fire. So normally, let's just say that it's firing on one synapse at a time, and that's where the nerve signals to tell the brain how strong of a problem it is. But let's say that what it does is now your knee is injured, and so now instead of having one synapse, it opens up 1,000. And we're talking, this is happening on a much larger scale inside your body. But just for sake of demonstration, now all of a sudden, so now that nerve fiber, because it has that many more openings in it, those synapses, those gates, whatever you want to call them, what happens is that now the brain can pick up on that. And if we get enough of those openings, enough of those synapses, what actually can happen is that your brain can pick up on the tiniest little pressure changes. So where normally you couldn't feel the air pressure changing, the atmospheric pressure changing, now you can. Does that kind of make sense, DW? Can you visualize that?
I can visualize it, but what you're talking about is it's actually a chemical transmitter, that's happening. It's even a chemical reaction. Is that correct?
It's chemical, but it's actually not just chemical. It's actually
nerves and chemical.
Yeah, it's building. Your body is actually building new nerve endings, right?
So it's a sharp increase of sensitivity because of inflammation. Is that am I correct?
Well, the inflammation, but then the nerve endings actually grow new nerve endings down in the area. And so what happens is that, like when your child gets injured, falls down, hurts their knee, you go over there and you kiss their knee. Well, that doesn't fix anything, right? But what it does, but it sends a signal to the brain, and the signal, the fibers that take that signal from your kissing your son's knee takes it to the brain faster than those slow nerve fibers, than the pain fibers. So it actually does cover it up. Or if I injure my thumb, if I smash my thumb with a hammer, what do? I start rubbing it, right? And you go, well, what does rubbing do? Well, what rubbing does is the same thing as that when you kiss your son's knee when he injures it. When you rub the thumb, it sends a signal faster than pain fibers, and it blocks that. So where I'm going with this, DW, is that when people have chronic pain, what's happened is that the injury has healed, like your back, it's healed. It's as good as it's going to get. But all those nerve synapses, all those nerve endings are still there. So your brain says, hey, this is still a new injury. There's something still going on here. So now you have chronic pain. Does that make sense?
That makes total sense. Yeah. Because when you said new nerves to reach out to, to give the correct signals.
Yeah, and a lot of it is, like you were talking about, the chemicals, the bradykinins, the lactic acids, all these different chemicals that are inside the joint. What they do is they cause inflammation, they cause irritation, and so it's irritating the chemical sensing nerve fibers as well. And so all of this working together, it's causing all that pain that we're having. So bottom line is, if you go to your local hospital, you walk into the emergency room or the urgent care, first thing they want to do is they want to throw some painkillers at you. And the different painkillers, like you were talking about, the narcotics, the COX-2 inhibitors, the NSAIDs, all these different kind of painkillers, they work on a little bit different basis. Some of them are there to block the pain at this level. Some of them are there to block the nerve impulse at this level. Some of them are there to get rid of the inflammation. But none of them are there to fix the problem. And that's where I have a problem with it is that, okay, so you go out and you hurt yourself, you get injured, yeah, you might need to take some painkillers, you might need to take something to reduce the amount of pain just so you can function, so you can sleep, things like that. But long term, those, a lot of these docs, a lot of the people that are working with you, they need to learn how to know, how do you fix the joint? How do you get that? What can you do? And the problem with it is that when we take a look at the healing process in the body, you go back 100 years from today. 100 years ago, people used to actually heal up better then than they do today. And why is that? Well, the food back then was more nutritious. It had more nutrients in it. One of the things that your fruits and vegetables had in them was a lot of the sulfur-containing organic compounds. So you had organic sulfur. When you ate the food, you got that in there, and there's a process in your body where that for the healing, getting rid of joint pain and all of that, you need organic sulfur. And so our diets are deficient in this, and what ends up happening is that the healing process gets to a certain degree of healing, and what ends up happening at that point is it stops. It doesn't have the right ingredients to finish the job, so it just stops at that point. And so that's what's causing a lot of the chronic issues, and what it does, it makes it so that now the joints, they further degenerate. We start to get osteoarthritis. We start to see joints that are just wearing out, and actually they're wearing out prematurely because they should have healed. So when I talk about that with patients, the next step I talk to them about is, so I say, hey, DW, for that back pain that you were talking about, wouldn't it make sense then that we give you something that can replace all of that organic sulfur that you aren't getting in your diet? Wouldn't it make sense that we look at something like that?
It makes total sense.
It makes total sense. And what product is that?
Well, you probably may want to start with Renovator. Then we've got the Spectra Max, so it kind of comes in a couple different
Well,
spots.
actually, I'm going to stop you because we're going to talk about those as well. But the one that I'm talking about right now with the organic sulfur, fucoitin.
Yes.
Okay, and why is fucoitin so good with it? Well, think about it. Everybody that's on the phone, everybody that's listening to this recording, take a thought and think about this. What haven't we done to the soil 20 to 30 feet below the surface of the ocean? We haven't depleted the minerals out of the soil in the bottom of the ocean. It constantly gets replenished. Guess what's dying in the ocean? Fish, right? Back in the old days, back when they 200 years ago, when they were planting a field, I remember looking at those pictures of the pilgrims, right? And they'd take fish carcasses and they'd put it in the field. And they'd use it as fertilizer, right?
Yeah.
And it really worked. Well, now we aren't doing that. We're going out there and we're spraying nitrogen down into the soil. We're using all this stuff to make crops, big years of corn, but no nutrition value in it. And so the fucoitin, it comes from the bottom of the sea, and the one of the magical compounds that's found in there is organic sulfur. When you hear Aaron giving you the tour, and he's giving you the tour of where Tom makes the fucoitin in his special machine that he invented, what's it doing? It's sulfonating. And that sulfonating process, that's what makes the fucoitin so powerful on getting rid of inflammation and also triggering healing. I was just working with a gal just recently that fell and tripped and cut a little bit through her lip, and I said, just take some of this and with a Q-tip, dip it on there. Just dip it on there every day, twice a day. Just put a little bit of fucoitin on there. And DW, you know how long it took for her to start seeing just miraculous changes with that?
Well, right away.
Yeah, right away. 2 days, you could see it. You could feel her lip, that hard knot that was beneath there, gone.
Mm-hmm.
Gone in 2 days. And that's because you got this great compound with the organic sulfur, and there's a lot of other things that are in the fucoitin as well that trigger healing. But the organic sulfur is one of the main ones that I talk about, because I've talked about that for 20 years in my office, and I've talked about using MSM and glucosamine and chondroitin and different things like that. But think about what they are: chondroitin sulfate, or a glucosamine sulfate, methyl sulfonyl-methane, which is again, it's a sulfur, it's a sugar, and it's a protein, it's a sugar molecule and a carbohydrate that bring a sulfur molecule into your body and allow it to bring that sulfur in so that you can get some healing. So that's where I was going to go with it. And I was just looking up, for those of you that like the science, where's the proof? Here I'm on an article. I just looked this up. This is on Natural Medicine Research. It's on PubMed, and it's got just a whole list of different doctors that did the study. And they took a bunch of participants with confirmed diagnosis of osteoarthritis of the knee. And what they did is they gave them fucoitin extract. And what they found is that, even just giving them a little tiny dose of fucoitin, they found that it decreased the symptoms 52% in a 10-week course of doing that. I mean, think about that. 52% chronic osteoarthritis pain. It takes 8 years for osteoarthritis to show up. So this is chronic. It's not something that just popped up yesterday. And they were able to decrease it by over 50% in a 10-week period of time using a mild form of seaweed extract, which is fucoidan. And now here, what Tom Maurer and Sisel brought to us is a product that's probably 300 to 400, 500 times stronger than what these guys used in their study, and it's just an amazing product for that. But enough on that, and I can go on and on for the next 3 days about that, DW. But the other one that I really want to talk about is that a lot of people don't think about for joint pain. You and I have talked about it on this call. Is the omega-3s, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and omega-3s are so important because, again, guess what it has in it? It has that EPA, DHA. Those are the two oils that are found in fish oils, and EPA decreases inflammation, and it actually decreases the progression of osteoarthritis. So again, for the last 20, 25 years of working in my office, I've recommended sometimes up to 5,000 milligrams of fish oil to help people get rid of joint pain.
That's a lot. But with what we have, super concentrated, with the potency levels of Tom, someone that's really going through some of those challenges, would you still recommend that much?
Yeah. I mean, if somebody has a lot of joint pain, you're dang right. I mean, I'm going to tell them that they want to be taking high doses of fish oils and the omegas just to decrease that. And again, we've got a super concentrated formula, so I might start out with just the recommended dosage, 1,000 milligrams. See how it goes. Use it with the fucoidan. If I don't seem to be getting the results, I might bump it up to 2,000. I might bump it up to 3,000. And again, like we were talking about last week, if your stomach's not working right, if your digestive system isn't working right, you're not going to absorb that stuff. So one of the key things that I look for, DW, have you ever taken a fish oil in the course of your lifetime where you actually burped up a fish taste?
Yeah, it's been a long time since I've had a product that does that, but yes.
Yeah, and a lot of people think, oh, it's a bad product. Actually, no, it's not a bad product. Not necessarily. It could be, but a lot of times what happens is if you don't have enough stomach acid, then what you're going to do is you're not going to digest the fish oils, and that's when you're going to notice that. So so I always talk to people about making sure that they have enough stomach acid. A lot of people think that they have too much because they're taking all the antacids and all that, but really when somebody has to take antacids, it's usually and then again, this is another 3-day talk that I could talk on, but it's usually because they don't have enough stomach acids.
Yeah. So what you're saying then is the Omega Plus, the Super Omega Plus that we have is, and you mix that with the fucoidan, which helps with circulation, inflammation as well, and that combination is, especially for major arthritis, double dosing that right there alone is going to make a big impact.
Oh, it's going to make a huge impact. And then we start throwing in some things that are going to rebuild the joint now. So now that we got the pain issue under control, now that we got the inflammation under control, now we can say, hey, DW, let's rebuild those joints. Because if we tried to rebuild the joints prior to getting rid of the inflammation, all we're doing is it's kind of like trying to put out a fire with dust. I mean, you're just not going to be able to do it. You want to get that inflammation under control. Now you can go in there and you can really start working with that, and that's where the Renovator product is just superior to anything else that I've ever seen on the market. It's got ingredients in it, that work better than glucosamine sulfate, better than MSM, better than the chondroitin, and it not only does it help with getting rid of the joint pain and working like a natural COX-2 inhibitor, which is one of the classifications of drugs. You've probably heard of Vioxx and Celebrex and some of these that were on the market, and they should have been taken off. They're still on the market, but they should have been taken off because they caused heart disease. Well, we've got ingredients in the Renovator that work like a COX-2 inhibitor, but don't cause the heart disease that the COX-2 inhibitors like Vioxx did. And then on top of it, with the ingredients that are in there, we've got an ingredient that's called synatine. And what the synatine does is it's just an amazing ingredient. And it's found naturally in the body, but we just don't have enough of it. And so what this does is that, you know, when you look at the studies just on the ingredients, like I always do with the different products, it rebuilds the joint. It makes the joint so it's more flexible. It gets it so that your joint can have that bendability that it needs. Because when the joint bends, what that's going to do is it creates a natural pump by having the internal external pressure. It's pumping it in and out just like your heart does. It pumps the fluid in and out and getting nutrition into the joint. And so you want to have the joints moving. That's why, like, when somebody is in a cast for a long period of time, the joint actually gets stiff, and it actually can cause the joint to never heal up quite as good as it did before. Like my foot, it's been 8 years since my accident, and I have some limited mobility in my right foot because of being in a external fixator. They immobilized my joint for like 9 months. And so I'm never going to have the normal movement in there that I did. But the other thing is that synatine works to decrease inflammation, and it protects the joint, makes it so that it works like an antioxidant, helps to rebuild it. So we've got that in the Renovator product, DW, and it just makes it so it's just a superior product to anything that's on the market. You still there?
One of the things that we've been doing, Doc, to help people get on the right track was start with the Fucoidan. I mean, that's the first thing, because I want to just clean the system out, let there be a mild detox to the kidney, the liver, the whole 9 yards, get the inflammation under control, and I love the advice on then moving into the Omega Plus, and then and now we're going to rebuild the joint with the Renovator. It's dynamic what you're telling us.
Yeah, and the whole thing is so simple. If you think about it, like if you're working on a car, and I like cars. I mean, you got to think logically. You can't just jump ahead and say, "Oh, I'm going to fix this first." And you got to do it in steps, and that's really what I'm trying to tell people is get the inflammation under control, get the joint so it's ready to be healed, prepare it for healing, and then give it what it needs to heal up, and you're going to have a lot better results.
Well, that's dynamic. Now, I'm going to throw a real quick question. You can hold this off for later if you want to, simply because, we're talking about some of the nerve damage that's been done as well, and there's some components with, the different kind of Bs and, B12, B6, B9, all the Bs, and then some of the folic acids and stuff. But it seems I remember someone early on saying that the Ultramax has, small doses like a quarter of a bottle a day or whatever, really can also help kind of coat the nerve endings. So you've got your Fucoidan and you've got your Omegas taking the inflammation down from some of the nerves, but then nerves can get raw because of damage. And then when they get coated properly with some of the things that are in the Spectramax and the Ultramax, they can start, not causing so much pain as well. Is there some truth in what I'm talking about there?
Oh, definitely. I mean, you think about it. Again, I like to talk about automobiles because it's something that most of us guys can think about. Is that if you take a wire and you just take a knife and you cut the insulation off, now that wire is going to short out on any other metal that gets in contact with, and that's how your nerves are too. So if the insulation around the nerve starts to get worn off, from improper nutrition, from stress, different things like that, even from the different drugs that they put you on, what it'll do is that nerve it'll short out and misfire like that. And so the B vitamins helps to rebuild that myelin sheath. It rebuilds the covering or the insulation. So think of it again, like I said, like the wire, and then that way it gives you kind of a good analogy in your head of what you're doing as you rebuild it. So definitely, and then the Spectramax, holy cow. there's 74 trace minerals. They're delivered in a way with the fulvic acid, so your body can use them. And a lot of people, they don't really understand what fulvic acid is, but real simply, it's like this. I'm looking out my window right now, and there's a tree growing out here in my yard, and that tree is growing down, and it needs to have the minerals out of the soil in order for that tree to pull the minerals up and to build the tree. And so what it does, it takes and it squeezes out fulvic acid through the roots of the tree. The fulvic acid dissolves the rocks and the gravel down in the soil, the gravel and the dirt, and then it now, because of that, because it's dissolved the mineral, now the tree can actually absorb the minerals up into it. Well, so most of the mineral products, the vitamins, minerals that you see on the market, you go over to your local supermarket or your big box store and you buy a mineral product over there, what you're going to find is you're going to get a product where they don't care about that. All they know is they're selling you this mineral. Well, if your body can't use it, if it's like grinding your teeth on a piece of stone, it's not going to do your body any good. And so that's why Tom's included the fulvic acid with the Spectrum Max, so your body can use that. And again, there, like we're talking about with the organic sulfur, your body is right now, as we're talking, your body's doing 2,000 to 3,000 different biological processes, and they can't take place without those trace essential minerals that are found in Spectrum Max. And so we deliver them with the fulvic acid so they can go to work right now. As soon as you throw that back into your mouth, it goes to work that quickly.
Well, that's fantastic. Now, we've had a couple of our buddies that have gone through, and this is here again, just kind of one of those left field questions, but have gone through open heart surgery and wanting to mend. I mean, they bust their chest wide open. I mean, just boom, and then wire it back together. So the same thing applies. Bigger doses of the Ficoidin, bigger doses of the Omega Plus, and anything you'd want to say to someone that had their bones busted open or their chest broke open like that.
Yeah. Well, and the hard part with that is that when you tear that open, when they're actually probably usually it's not, when I say tear, I think of more of like, I'm going to grab your finger and I'm going to pull it off your hand. It's going to be kind of a rough cut. But when they're doing it surgically, they're going in there with a knife and they're cutting it. The problem with that is that, sure, it's a nice little cut and it's smooth and all of that, but when you try and go put it back together, I mean, take and push those two pieces back together, there's no place for it to fit. Where if it's a tear, it's actually easier for the body to heal up a tear than it is for it to heal up a cut, because the fibers aren't torn in a nice smooth line. They're torn kind of jagged, so you can fit the jagged pieces together like two puzzle pieces. Where when it's smooth, it's not. And so now the nerve endings can find each other, the blood vessels can find each other, and it lines it all up. So when you're working with something like scar tissue from a surgery, a little bit more difficult. What I try and tell people, again, like I was talking about earlier, my friend had a little bit of a cut, a scar on the lip, and I said, here, just put a little bit of Spucoidin on there. I've had people where I've told them, just take a little bit of the Eternity with the high doses of resveratrol and rub that into that injury, and you can sure do that at the same time with these products. Take them internally, put them externally. The other one, that you can use on something like that again is that again the Eternity is going to boost the levels of the gene of youthfulness, so it's going to make you heal up faster. I mean, you remember when you were 20 years old, DW, and you're goofing around with your buddies, and you fell down, you got thrown to the ground, you're wrestling, and you just jumped right back up, no injury. But let your buddies throw you on the ground today, what's going to happen?
It's not going to be a good scene.
They're going to be helping you back up, right?
They're going to be getting the crane, backing it up, beep, beep, and lifting me up. I'm just saying.
That's exactly it. And that's because the gene of youthfulness shuts off at about the age of 25. It starts to shut down, and your body just doesn't heal up as quickly. So the Eternity product, I mean, we've got the equivalent. I was talking to Tom here probably about a month ago. One bottle of Eternity has the equivalent resveratrol as drinking over 1,000 bottles of red wine. in one bottle of eternity.
I tell you, our products are power packed, and what everyone's hearing tonight, and we're kind of winding down to the time limit. But you're hearing about the joint pain that you're having. So what Doc is saying is pretty simple. Let's go in there and let's attack some of that inflammation. And one of the best products to absolutely douse your body with in multiple small little doses a day is it can be recommended if as needed of the Ficoidin. And then come behind that with doubling up on or 1.5 doses of the Omega Plus, and then maybe even moving to double doses, which I've done that, healing the leg up and stuff, Doc, with going through some of that. And then once you have that under control, and that might take, anywhere from 4 days, 5 days, 10 days, it just depends. Everyone's body's different. And then you possibly want to move into continuing that regimen, but adding the Renovator to go in there and start rebuilding the joints properly, and then backing that up with the, obviously the Spectramax and Eternity, and even some of the things to, help with the bones and stuff like that. We haven't got into the calcium K2, but that's another component as well. There's so many products we haven't popped into that can support you and give you help. Dr. Kurt Fisnick, you're absolutely amazing. We're getting a lot of good feedback from these calls, and a lot of people are hearing them on a playback basis, and Rob Cohan's making that happen, and we appreciate that massively. And so anything you want to say in closing?
Hey, DW, I just wanted to tell you, thanks for hosting this call. You do such a great job of it, and Rob, I appreciate you making sure that the recording is out there for everybody. I mean, we're moving into the Christmas season, and you just think, how many people could really benefit from hearing about stuff like this, and maybe share it with them. Share some of the information, if nothing else, on what we're doing, what kind of things we can do, what kind of things we can change.
Well, and that's for the Doctor's Clinic. We appreciate everyone being involved tonight. I enjoy having people hear this playback. I ask them listen about 5-6 minutes. If you like what you're hearing, continue to listen on. And everyone seems to do that, and it's fantastic what we're seeing happen. Make a difference in someone's life by sharing the Doctor's Clinic with them and inviting them to be a part of it live each Tuesday evening right here, 7 o'clock Mountain Time, 9 o'clock Eastern. Talk to you soon. Thanks for being part of the call. Dr. Kurt, you did awesome.
Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.
Thank you both.